All right, I'd like to call the Public Works Board meeting of June 14th to order. Misty, could you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Temperley,
Here.
Mrs. Wolf,
Here.
Mr. Fritsch,
Here.
Mr. Reich,
Here.
and Mr. Picard and Mr. Laird informed me that they would not be here this evening.
Okay. Up next, we have correction and approval of the minutes of March 8th, 2016, and May 10th, 2016. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve. I'll move to approve. Any
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. Questions and public comment? There's nobody here, so we'll go on to the next agenda. Update on Department of Public Works and Parks and Forestry building.
Okay, thanks. And, well, first of all, yeah, thanks to all you guys and to the council for being able to remodel that building and get the Parks Department into a good facility. Here's a quick update. The substantial completion date will be June 24th. And what that means is that we can occupy the building. That's given that Todd, the fire department gives the okay, and then Greg Knoll gives us the occupancy permit, but I know they've been involved quite a bit right from the start, so we don't see a problem there. On Monday, we will be going through with all the contractors and doing our final inspection, putting together a punch list, if you will. I will tell you that McGill, our general contractor, has been very particular about the building. Anytime you remodel a building, it's a whole different ballgame than when you build one new, and so there have been issues that have come up, and McGill has really done a nice job for us, because they were the same contractor that built the light and water building, so working with them was real good. A couple of things in addition to, well, let me do it this way. We're going to be probably about 3 weeks behind schedule. And we are going to be somewhat over budget, and I'll explain that to you. The 3 weeks behind schedule is a result of having to deal with some soil issues and getting approval from the engineering firm to go ahead and build on the soil that was on site. And that kind of compounded the problem of the timing of doing the building, in that we were into the winter. And so getting all the soil issues resolved, and then having to try to heat the building when there was a time through most of the winter where one wall was missing, and so we're trying to heat this building, and we're trying to keep everything ready so we can pour concrete and all that sort of thing. That's what really put us behind. As far as the budget goes, we are going to be over. Right now, our estimate is that we'll be somewhere around $150,000 over budget, but I'm making sure you understand the biggest reason for that is that after getting started on the roof, we realized that we basically needed to put a whole new roof on the thing, and the cost of that was just a little over $168,000. So I guess my message is that if we had not had to do the new roof, we actually probably would have come in a little bit under budget. But as we discussed at previous meetings and we discussed with the council, it really wasn't worth doing all this work underneath the roof only to have it continue to leak. And so the new roof is, not only is it watertight now, but it's got more insulation in it, so it's a little more energy efficient. As far as the design, if you will, and the life of the building, I think we made some real good moves. Obviously, with the Parks Department, the amount of space that they've got now, the safeness of the space, the efficiency of the space, I mean, how could you not improve over what they were in? But I have no doubt that that space will last for a long time. As far as the Streets Department goes, you know, just the physical layout of the lot didn't allow for a lot of expansion, and, you know, certainly finances were an issue in doing a whole lot on the street side. But one of the things we did, and one of the pressures we relieved, if you will, is that we expanded the size of our mechanic bay. In fact, we have 2 mechanics bays now. And that will, I think, really make, again, that area a little more safe, a little more efficient, and allow us to, you know, use that facility for quite a while to come. some of the office reconfiguration, really minor, but the area for the truck storage, both for the Parks Department and the Street Department, is going to be very nice. It's going to make things much, much better. And to have the two departments together, I think will help because they share a lot of equipment. And then the last comment I'll make, I don't know if you've driven by there recently, but every day the outside is starting to change, look a little better. We do have some landscaping to go, or to finish up, but the site itself looks so much better than it used to. If you recall, kind of on the north side, we had a lot of storage and weeds growing and all that sort of thing. And with the remodel, we've redone that whole area, and it just, the aesthetics, the exterior aesthetics are much better in that building, so we're real pleased with that. So that's basically what I've got for an update. If you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
No, I think that the roof, we went over that on our tour, so we were expecting that. So,
Correct.
does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, you haven't, there haven't been any other problems that have been uncovered, have there?
Nothing major. I get, it's just some of the stuff you get when you remodel where, the architect designed it one way and it didn't quite fit. I guess the biggest example we've got is we put in a whole new heating and cooling system. And as part of that, there's a very large air handling system that had to go up in this new mezzanine. And I don't know if it was luck or incredible design, but there was about 1.5 inches to spare for that fitting in under the roof. And so there was a little pressure getting that done. Some of the other things we found out as we were going through it, some of the electrical circuits inside the building were not in very good shape. In fact, we had an entire bus that was burned out in one of the old breaker panels. So minor stuff like that we found, Doug, but nothing that really slowed us down or cost us a lot of money.
And nothing new since we went to the council last time.
Right. And we don't anticipate any changes. Again, our completion date is the 24th, so we don't anticipate much between now and then.
And the truck is still running?
I'm sorry?
The truck is still running?
Oh, no, the truck is parked in the back.
Oh.
It's not running.
Okay.
Okay. Going on to the next agenda. Discussion and time frame of the spring brush pickup. One time brush pickup was every week, all year round. And I was on the council and found out their neighboring township only does it twice a year, so I had it changed. But I envisioned the spring cleanup to be a little bit closer to May. So, because you can't count on nice weather in March, and we did have a big snowstorm in April, and a neighbor of mine complained. I mean, they pretty much only had one weekend where they could be able to do it. So, any reasons why it's closer to March than May? This is discussion only, so I can't tell you to change it. But if you just want to give a background of why you kind of do it earlier in April.
Sure. It's kind of a seasonal discussion. Mm-hmm. And we look back, and we've always kind of been, mid to later April. And this particular year, we thought we'd go a little earlier in April simply because of the way the season flowed. It looked like we were going to have a much earlier spring, and then, of course, it got nice for a while in April, and then it got not so nice in April. So I guess the answer to that is that in the past, we've kind of tried to play the weather. And maybe that's not the best approach. We were talking, two things, and I can see you got more questions, so just two things real quick. Maybe our best bet is to pick an approximate, pick like the 3rd or 4th week in April and stick to that regardless of the weather. One other change we did attempt to make this year was instead of running the pickup from like Monday to Friday, we're running it Wednesday to Wednesday so that people have a weekend in there to get their brush out. Because inevitably what happens is they see the truck go by picking up brush and they decide to throw their stuff out. And then, we've already gone past that street. So in an attempt to give people a little more time, we changed the timing during the week. But wide open to however you want to do this. My guess is that no matter what we do, we're going to miss somebody. But if you've got suggestions how to do it better, we're always open.
Yeah, I like that Wednesday to Wednesday. And I like setting like the second or third Wednesday, something that's set every year. So I'll submit a prepared motion to Misty, and so that way we'll have something to officially vote on. Since there's no big hurry, and I'm gonna be gone in July, so maybe something for the September meeting.
Okay, so looking for just a motion or something that
I'll
indicates.
prepare a motion of what the exact policy should be. And I'll leave it to my fellow Public Works Board members to either vote yea or no.
Okay.
In other words, a fixed date.
Yeah, fixed statement, fixed policy on paper, of what it should be, a fixed date, so people know every year. Instead of relying on nice weather, which changes every year. Because, to be honest, it kind of threw me off too, until I noticed it in the paper and I had to rush out and get stuff out there.
Yeah.
Because I just assumed it was closer to May, so.
Makes sense. We might as well fix it for both spring and fall.
Well, I haven't heard complaints about fall. Well, what's been the fall policy? I mean,
Well, it's similar.
Yeah.
Actually, the fall is a little more predictable, if you will.
yeah, it is, yeah,
But we also try to time it with our leaf pickup.
yeah.
And even that's a little bit of a roll of the dice, because some years the leaves fall earlier and some years they fall later.
Yeah,
And yeah. And what I'm hearing then is maybe fix a date like always going to be beginning the third Wednesday of April or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay. All right.
so, but I'm gonna make that a form of motion, so I'll, for September, so. And I don't have any concerns about fall. If somebody else wants to tinker with the fall schedule, that's fine, but I haven't heard any complaints about meeting the fall deadline, so.
How much does it cost to go around and pick up?
We haven't done the analytics in a while, but it was substantial in comparison to what we used to do. I mean,
It was every week, and at times you would just be picking up little sticks because there wasn't anything, but people still expected the city just go around and look for it, so.
you have 2 to 3 people traveling around the city for several days.
Can it be done in a day, or is it,
No, it was never done in a day.
Yeah,
And so you're running, in an hour, you can run easily $140 just in labor. And you got your wear and tear and gas and running, and then, every month you had to regrind the blades. So it was a very expensive operation.
for the chipper?
Pardon?
For the
Yeah,
chipper?
Right.
Well, for picking up brush and shipping and
Right. Yeah, I mean, if everything was out, we could probably make a lap around the city in a couple of days, but again, the thing is, we give people that time, because really, once they see the truck go by, they figure out we gotta do this. And so we probably, I think Dave told me, we probably make 3 to 4 rounds through the city in that week. Of course, as we get toward the end, it's less, and so the rounds are a little quicker, but, we try to make as many laps, if you will, as we can in that time period. Now, on the upside, the fact that we're picking up the brush gives us a little more control over how much goes into the yard waste center, which is usually a disaster, these times of the year, and that costs money to clean up too. So, it may cost us money to pick up brush, but, we do save a few dollars because we're the ones that are able to pile it and move it and all that sort of thing, so.
I don't think we save any dollars. We provide a service that people need. Because I don't care how it is, when they deliver it to the yard waste center and we load it there, it's cheaper. Because running that truck and the equipment and the people on the street, and just the air pollution alone from all that equipment, not to mention the wear and tear on the streets, the wear and tear on the equipment, the amount of manpower you had that could be doing something else. I think, as I remember, it was a pretty substantial dollar number.
Yeah. Does that get to your question, Doug? Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could have a spring bonfire.
You're not the first to suggest
Fire
that.
department will probably put a no tag on it.
That was facetious.
don't volunteer in his yard.
There you go. Great.
Okay, well, we'll see something in September to officially vote on.
Very good.
Item 7, discussion recommendation on wastewater treatment plant compliance maintenance annual report.
We'll give this one to Bill. That's your introduction.
Good evening. I'm Bill Kiesling. I'm your City of Lake Mills wastewater foreman, and I'm here to discuss the 2015 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, or CMAR as we like to call it, and hopefully get a recommendation towards a council resolution. So a lot of you have probably heard me go through my spiel, but I'll do it yet one more time. So Wisconsin Admin Code NR 208 requires all publicly owned treatment works to submit a CMAR annually on or before June 30th of each year. Excuse me. The CMAR was designed to be an objective means for the DNR as well as the treatment works operator, or in this case the city, to evaluate the operation and permit compliance of the wastewater treatment plant as well as a collection system. This report is about 24 pages long, including the resolution, and it's divided into 10 sections as follows. Section 1, influent flow and loading, that's pages 1 through 3. Section 2, effluent quality and plant performance is related to BOD, or biochemical oxygen demand, which is the strength of the wastewater, pages 4 through 5. 3, effluent quality and plant performance, TSS, or total suspended solids, page 6. Effluent quality and plant performance, ammonia, page 7. Section 5, effluent quality and plant performance relating to phosphorus, that's on page 8. Section 6, biosolids, sludge, quality and management, that's pages 9 through 12. Section 7, staffing and preventive maintenance, that's on pages 13 and 14. Section 8 is operator certification and education, on pages 15 and 16. Section 9, financial management, that's on pages 17 and 18. And Section 10 is relating to the sanitary sewer collection system, and that's on pages 19 through 22. The remaining 2 pages are a grading summary and a resolution statement. Now each of these 10 sections is graded on the summary page, and this year we received 9 A's and 1 C, giving us a GPA of 3.84 out of a possible 4.0. Now compared to last year, we had 9 A's and 1 B, so 3.86, roughly a similar grade. The B last year was in a different section than the C this year, however. In the section we had a B last year, we got an A this year. That B was related to the upset conditions we were experiencing, and that was in, I believe, TSS. Versus this year, we got a C in the very first section, and I'll go through that with you briefly. I'll probably touch on each of the 10 sections if I have anything to say on them. Obviously, if it's an A and there's nothing to say, I won't have much to tell you. So, Section 1 is influent flow and loading, and if you look on page 1, the first page of the report, near the middle of the page, you'll see that our design BOD is 1,856 pounds per day. Now the DNR uses 90% of that design, or 1,670.4 pounds per day, as a benchmark for grading. We exceeded that 90% 8 times in 2015. So if you look on the bottom of the page, you'll see that those exceedances caused a C grade in the section. That means that we're required to give the DNR a response, and I've taken the liberty to type a brief response, which is up there on the screen, and basically it's not in the packet because I felt maybe the board or the council should have the liberty of making their own response, but that's a suggestion that basically the wastewater utility will continue to monitor the influent flow and loading trends as they relate to BOD in pounds per day. We will then work with our engineer to coordinate any possible future expansion or changes with permit reissuance and meeting the new phosphorus regulations. And basically what we're saying is that our permit has not been reissued yet. We're waiting for that. There's gonna be changes in the permit already, we know that, relating to phosphorus in the future. And before we could really do anything, we'd have to look at the whole picture. And really, at this point, there's not much to get excited about anyway. They just want it on your radar. They want everybody to be aware that somewhere down the road, there might need to be some planning should the trend continue. So,
Will the phosphorus be lower?
well, the
the
effluent
future?
phosphorus limits will be lowered. And it kind of all ties in with the biological process and how the city decides to go about meeting those new limits. But that's somewhere down the road, a few years. And so it might impact, if we were at some point to have to do some design work to meet heavier loadings coming in as the city continues to grow, it might impact how we would go about that. Any more questions on that section? I guess I've got a couple graphs. Yeah, Steve could put a graph on there and show you, which one you got there? Influent flow trend. So if you look at the influent flow trend, you'll see the red line is our design limit. The little dots going along there along the bottom are where we've been at since 2011. And if you look at the far right side of that, you'll see 2015 and into 2016 isn't really that out of the ordinary. It's a little higher, but we tend to be over our average there. If you see that, you can see in 2013 we had some high flows, and that was due to clear water coming in, the inflow and infiltration. This is just a slight increase in flow, so it's nothing to really get excited about. But if you look at the next graph, you'll see in the same area, that red line again is our design. You'll see in previous years, occasionally we bumped up on that design limit, but we didn't continually stay there like we did in 2015. And so what that's telling us is we're meeting all of our effluent limits, so there's nothing to get really excited about right now. But what it's telling us is that we might have to look at something in the future. If the flows and loadings stay that high, then we're getting towards time to start planning it for the future.
Expansion?
No,
Possibly down.
let's look at how this is worded.
Yep,
Your flows, the actual water flowing in is like at 65, 68%.
70, it's about 75, somewhere in that area.
BOD is the amount of solids in it that the treatment plant is designed to take out of it. Okay, so you're at a point now where you're gonna have to think about how the treatment, not necessarily expansion, but the improvement in how it's treated. And so and that tops on with some other permit issues that we have coming up too. So we haven't pushed it real hard yet. We know that it's out there. We've been looking at what our options are. But we know we're gonna get a different phosphorus number.
Yep,
One that we don't even know if you can test for yet.
right,
And two, there's a likelihood we're gonna get some type of nitrogen requirement.
sometime.
Yeah, so, and with us messing with the orthophosphate in the water,
Yep,
we'll have other issues. And then how the permits that we've done for the industrial treatment, how that'll impact this.
yep,
So we have, a group of areas that we've been working on and paying attention to see how the BOD loading looks. But that's probably our biggest issue at the wastewater treatment plant is our BOD loading.
as Steve alluded to, I mean, we're doing some things with industry, so possibly the, that strength was always there, but there was something in that influent that was knocking that down where we couldn't see it, a toxicity, if you will. We discussed quaternary amines and things like that coming from industry. So if you have something coming from industry that's knocking that BOD down, you don't necessarily see it. So we've made great strides to reduce the amount of quaternary amines and things that are coming into the treatment plant and stressing it.
So it's not quantity, it's quality?
Well, what this is
Or
this is showing you that in our influent, the pounds of BOD strength are going up. So that's the organic load coming into the plant is increasing, and it goes up with the flow. So to give you an idea, if you have 38 milligrams per liter more BOD at 0.97 million gallons a day, that's about 300 pounds of extra BOD load coming into the plant. That's enough to put you over, and 38 milligrams per liter in influence, almost nothing.
Basically what it is the lower the BOD, the clearer the water.
Yep.
So you may have a lot of, and so what we've seen is we have less industrial water, we have less residential water, and we have more load coming out of that water. So the water is carrying a lot more material that then loads the plant's ability to treat.
See, basically, the DNR wants it to be on our radar, and that's what they've accomplished here. You're aware of it. We need to be looking at it. This isn't saying that we have to do any design or that next year we're going to add on to the wastewater plant or something. That's not what this is. This is us saying we're aware of this, and we're going to look at options as we go forward. And kind of, we understand it's out there, but I think this is probably something years off unless, the city continues to grow rapidly and these loadings continue to come in at an increased level.
So there's less water, but it's more concentrated.
There's slightly more water, and it has the same concentration, to be clear.
Right, but if you were looking at it from a number of business, if you were looking at it from a percentage of the amount of water generated per individual, there's less water. We have more people than we've ever had. So if you looked maybe in 99 or 96, we probably were getting 100 gallons of water per person. We're now down to about, what, 82?
I think what Steve's alluding to is with the low flush appliances.
Right.
Even though the flows are not that different than they were in previous years. So it's just that the strength, as the flows have gone up slightly, the strength has stayed the same. And if you take the flow in million gallons a day times the strength of the waste in milligrams per liter times the weight of water, you'll get that number, that 1,670 pounds per day or whatever it is.
And eventually we'll have to adjust to that to deal with the more concentrated BOD.
Yes. But he's looking at it from a totally different perspective than I would look at it, though. We have more people than we've ever had.
Right.
Our flows should be significantly higher than they are now based on the population in comparison to what it was in 96. But they're not. They're almost just barely slightly higher. And then you look at your BOD and how much that's going up and you're going, oh, it makes sense. People are generating less water, but they're still putting the same amount of solids into it, but your BOD loading is now hitting a higher point. In the old days, the influent and the BOD load would have worked. Now that's not consistent. People are using less water, which is good, but we still are getting the same amount of solids sent to us.
Yeah.
Or more, because there are more people.
Right.
Yeah, I look back over the last, from 2011 to 2015, and in 2015, the average flow was about 0.87 million gallons a day, with an average BOD of 238 milligrams per liter. In 2014, the average flow was 0.73, 0.74, with an average BOD of 236 milligrams per liter, roughly the same. You go back to 2013, the average flow was 0.97. Okay, so it was actually 10% higher than 2015. But the average BOD in that was 200 milligrams per liter, because a lot of it was clear water. So I guess the it's kind of a big puzzle. It's not, we just kind of have to keep an eye on it. It's not, there's nothing definitive here, is what I'm trying to tell you, I guess, is the takeaway. Is there more questions on section 1, or?
Just, maybe it's, I'll ask a question. So in other words are, we aren't getting these dumpings that we used to get and causing things to go haywire in the ditches and stuff like that.
From industry,
Yeah.
less. We've made some real strides there. We've definitely improved our influent loadings from industry. We've addressed a lot of issues there, and we've seen a fairly good overall recovery. We get some little occasional blips, nothing's perfect, but overall the treatment plant looks pretty good, correct? Yep, and that's reflected in this report. If you look at the report, we don't have all those violations we did. The one thing that we got to see in is something that probably I as an operator could do the least about. I mean, it's the loading is what the loading is. And all that it's doing is telling us to be aware that that's what the loading is and look at it. And that's, I guess that would be my recommendation, that we're just going to keep our eye on it, and we're going to look at it going forward, and I'm sure we're not done talking about it between Steve and Paul and the engineers and I, and we'll, somewhere down the road, if it continues that trend, we'll maybe,
I think the other response to your question, Doug, is though that our permitting process is working. I mean, there's some value to it. We're getting some attention from companies, and we're getting a handle on what's coming toward us. So as difficult as that can be, it is an effective tool.
Are we getting cooperation?
Yeah, I'd say generally speaking, sure. Yeah, again, it's difficult, it's different, so there's always a little bit of pushback, but I think overall, we're doing okay.
okay. Then if there's no more questions on section 1, I'll go to section 2 is effluent BOD. Now this is in the effluent. So we were just discussing the influent, this is in the effluent. And we had no exceedances of our monthly limits for BOD. We did have a couple little pH spikes caused by industry, and we exceeded our effluent weekly limit in June. It doesn't show on this report. It doesn't impact it, I just had to address it in the report. So you'll see that in there if you look at section 2. Basically, I just identified that in June we had a little upset, but we're still working on permitting industry, as Paul alluded to, and those efforts have bared fruit, I guess. Section 3, effluent TSS, plant performance. We had no problems there at all, as opposed to last year, 2014, where we had an exceedance. So that's an improvement. Section 4 is effluent ammonia. Again, there's really nothing to discuss. Plant performed well. We had no loss of nitrifying bacteria, which was happening during the upset, so I'm very pleased with that. Section 5 is effluent phosphorus, and again, we're having no problem meeting our current limit of 1, and things are going good, and I guess you're aware that at some point down the road that will change, and we'll have to do something, but as Steve said, we're not even sure what that is yet. So, Section 6 is biosolids management. Again, we had no issues. Biosolids, or sludge as we like to call it in the industry, but we got it all applied and we had no problems. Section 7, staffing.
I'm sorry, what's the difference between biosolids and total suspended solids?
Total suspended solids are solids or small particles that are suspended either in the influent wastewater coming in or in the effluent wastewater going out. Biosolids are, once we settle those solids and we waste them, once they've been through the organic process at the treatment plant, we waste those, they're treated, and we test them, and when they're safe, they're land applied as fertilizer. So biosolids or sludge management, we got an A. Basically, that section asks, do we have enough storage space? We do. We can store all of our solids for more than 6 months. We have fields to apply them on. We do. And we didn't violate. I didn't do any poor calculations and cause a over-application or something. We had no issues there. Section 7 is staffing and preventive maintenance, and again, we had an A there, no issues. Section 8 is operator certification, and I'm certified at the correct levels, so there's no problems there. Section 9 is financial management, and Betsy, I think, handles that section usually, and I'll take her word for it. They told me there was no issues there. Got an A there as well. Section 10 is the sanitary sewer collection system. 2015 was a pretty good year for me in this area. We didn't have any force main breaks, which I always like. So we had no sanitary sewer overflows, no spills, as it were. We only had about 5 backup complaints. We field quite a few more complaints than that, if that seems like a low number to you. But a lot of them end up being laterals or something that's not within the city's control. The DNR doesn't count those. They only consider a backup to be if it's proven to happen in the main line, an issue with the main line. And we only had 5 that I could attribute to the mains. And that's pretty good, to be honest with you. Out of 42 miles of sewer and 17 lift stations, I'll take 5. You should be aware we're in the process of updating our now DNR required CMOM program, which is an acronym for Compliance Management Operations and Maintenance Program, as it relates to the sanitary sewer collection system. And so this will give us, again, I guess, more tools for looking at how we can improve on sewer cleaning, televising, lift station, sewer management in the future. But for now, this section had an A, and we have a CMOM program. The DNR is just really sharpening their pencil about what they're requiring there. So I guess in conclusion, 2015 was a year that saw some of our diligence related to regulating the industries pay off. We had better effluent numbers, but we also saw an increase in our influent flow with no decrease in the BOD loading. So this means that it's time to start looking at our treatment options, and as the city continues to grow, it'll place more loads on a very good 25-year-old wastewater treatment plant. And I guess that's the takeaway. I want you to understand that that is a very good treatment plant. And it's just, there's really nothing we can do about that load being slightly increased other than watch it, keep an eye on it, and if it starts to get out of whack, we'll have to do some planning. At this time, I guess what's needed is a recommendation by the board, provided you recommend it, for the city council to approve the 2015 compliance maintenance annual report and the response to the C-graded section, number 1. So it can be certified and we can put it in the books, as it were.
Any other questions or comments from the board? We have a prepared public works board motion, 16-6-1. I want to entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Wolf? Aye. Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Reich?
Aye.
Mr. Temperley?
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0.
Any recommendations for future agendas from anybody?
Anything we need to be aware of?
We're gonna do the capital improvement plan finalization at the next meeting, so we'll have
Okay.
plenty.
I'm going to be gone at the next meeting. It's July, right? Yeah.
July 7th, or 12th.
Yeah. Oh, no more business, so I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.